And check this out, it's the Commodore of Andy Booth on pole. Front row of the grid shared by Kane Scott, then it's McIntyre and Manuel. Another Ford Holden battle. Further back down the field, Paul Pedersen back in the action in the top 5. Tim Edgell, his best ever qualifying spot into the top 6. And look at that, Andrew Fawcett rounding out the top 10, just ahead of Fogg with all those problems. And look at that, the two 40-year-olds, Penny and McLean, side by side, followed by Anderson and Wallace. Further back down the field, Ross Williams, McKenzie, and then Porter, the truck racer. Enki Tulloch looking for more racing room without any problems this weekend. McLaren, Brook and Lambert. Richards from Hamilton, Hardy, Adams, and then Eddie Bell in the Bartercard Commodore. Towards the rear of the grid, great to see Julia Hussif back in the pink Girl Talk car. So here we are, 14 laps, rolling start. Talk about drama, Shane Drake in the judicial truck. So our guest commentator, straight out of the Porsches, 17-year-old superstar, John O'Lester.
Pleasure to be here, Clint.
Joining us for our special guest commentary for the first rumble for the New Zealand V8s as Andy Booth leads this huge field of 32 down towards the first corner. Smokey and the Bandit, problems there for Edgell. Gets it wide. Oh, he's been pushed out there by Dean Perkins. So real drama once again. First lap, New Zealand V8s, round 3. It's the V&C Cocktails 200, and that must be a great first quarter to try and get 30-odd cars into one. Jono?
Yeah, absolutely. We had our first race earlier in the day, and certainly really hairy into there. You've got to be really careful, and as you see there, a bit of disappointment for Tim Edgell. He had his best qualifying ever in the series, so he's going to have to get back up through the field as quickly as he can.
Luke Gilden playing the waiting game, waiting to start from pit lane. We go on board Paul Ratasich. Take a look at that start again.
See the big concertina effect into there. Everyone's got to be really careful, because if you get out in the marbles, that's the end here, and that's what's happened to Edgell there at turn 1.
Paul Ratasich, the Rat with the HPM Falcon. That's Paul Manuel just in front. On board with Dean Perkins having a look at that first corner.
So this is right behind Edgell here. See, he gets a little bit sideways, and he's straight out on the marbles. Little touch, muscled out by everyone beside him, and that's the end of it. Look at that.
So real disappointment there for Timmy Edgell as we take a look at Andrew Fawcett starting from the top 10 position. Another look at how he just gets it sideways. Then the old rumble, push and shove. Dean Perkins gives him the big shunt.
New definition for racing room there, Clint.
Back on board with Clark Proctor, right up behind Fogg. Staying out of some of that drama. Great shot of the leaders as they rumble down the back straight, the main straight for the first time. This is Angus Fogg.
Getting the good draft right up into this new 90-degree corner. It's a really tough corner into there, Clint. You've got to be really careful. Car's going too wide there. You know, you don't see that very often, and you see there's no room to get through.
Tyre goes sideways. Fogg just trying to have that little wee too-wide battle with Mark Pedersen. Boothie out in front. McIntyre right on his heels. Then it's Scott, Manuel, the Rat. Paul Pedersen doing a great job in Foggy's second car, the old car.
You see Foggy's contact with Mark Pedersen there, bit of a tyre up.
Looking back from the Haviland Racing Falcon on Mark Pedersen, another former champion.
Great shot there from turn 3.
It's the big weekend of motorsport bliss, but it's far from bliss for the Bartercard Commodore of Eddie Bell. This is the versatile buildings Falcon off Adam Brock, and he just overcooked it straight into the rear of Timmy Edgell.
Oh, it's really disappointing. You see, when it goes bad, you know, it just keeps getting worse and worse for you. And when you're at the back of the field, there's more of a chance of you getting involved in these sort of incidents. So it's really disappointing for Tim.
And he was all pumped up too after getting some driver instruction from Kane Scott, a few tips about how to handle these big V8s, and great qualifying spot. So it's all turned to custom once again for the Edgell Racing boys. But it's a good battle out in front with Booth and McIntyre.
Interesting to see all of these top 4 cars. You know, they've really taken advantage of the pre-event testing that they had here at Taupo. You know, Boothie's just absolutely on fire, as is Paul Manuel and Kane Scott, and obviously Johnny Mack.
Flags out for the Rat, Paul Ratasich, for driver behaviour. So a bit of a ticking off for the Rat. Booth, McIntyre. Yes, Johnny was very pleased with their Taupo testing session before Christmas. Had Shane Van Gisbergen out of the V8 supercars into that car for a while.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course Johnny Mack and Shane go way back to last year with the Bathurst and Sandown endurance races, so they've got a good little history there.
Right, we're on board with the Rat. See what goes wrong here, how he gets a bad sportsmanship flag.
I think by looking at this rear angle here that he's just made one too many moves across on Paul there. A little bit harsh, but them's the brakes.
Talking of harsh, getting into the big dust bowl, it's Nick Ross and the 007 Total Lubricants cars. We take a look at the Hydrolink best under pressure moment. And it's Dave Stewart getting wide.
Big slide out of turn 4. That's really easy to do there. Blind corner, you come over it, you don't know exactly where you're going, and it's really dusty here this weekend.
On board with Johnny Mack. Stalking Andy Booth as they make the entrance into the sweep, having a look down the
Big move up
inside.
the inside. Look at that. Make sure he feeds the gas on nicely.
Yeah, trying to get that inside run for the end of the straight for that new corner, which they've really tightened up. And if you've got the inside line, that could be the key to get the passing move under brakes.
Absolutely, and there's no real way that Boothie can hold him out here. He seems to be struggling a little bit with the rear end of his car, Clint.
So lap 5, and it's McIntyre takes the lead from Booth. Kane Scott rounding out the top 3. Back with more in a moment. The V&C Cocktails 200. Welcome back to race 1 of the New Zealand V8s as it's Boothie pulling up to the bumper of Johnny McIntyre. 14-lapper. Our guest commentator John O'Lester straight out of the Porsches. A good third today in race 1. Good battle out in front between the Ford and the Holden.
Absolutely, and again, it's great to see these guys, mixing it at the front now. The Holdens have had a real tough time at the start of the season, as everybody knows, and they're really coming to grips with the cars now.
Oh, coming to grips too. There's the replay. Julia Hussif, she's back in the Girl Talk pink and green Commodore and just sliding it wide on that difficult entrance into the sweeper. Here's Team Taupo.
David Bernard by the looks of it. And look at that, it's a great move, up and under. It's a really, really tough move to execute there, but when you get it right, it's really rewarding, and you've got a really good run down the back straight. Good
drive by Busy too, starting from the rear of the field after all their engine problems. A new motor put in from Grant Brennan and the team out of
so here we go. All Kane, he's just looking.
Scott having a good look down that inside as Paul Pedersen runs wide. Fob up down the inside.
Paul and Foggy, of course, teammates this weekend. Paul coming back into the series after a break from the first few rounds. It's great to see him back.
Driving Foggy's old car. Oh, poor Manuel just losing it.
It's very interesting there, Clint. Both those Holdens seem to be struggling a lot with the rear grip. So
I wonder if that change to the rear suspension hasn't quite, well, it's worked in qualifying. Different story in race pace. Kevin Williams and the Strapping Systems Commodore pulling up.
So all the Commodores seem to be going a bit pear-shaped as you speak.
So perhaps a bit more testing to be done with the change in regulations to their rear suspension setup.
So Foggy now all over Paul Manuel, trying to capitalise on that mistake down at the end there, and he's really going to need to try and refocus now. It's a very tough thing to do after you make a mistake.
Whoa, there goes one of the tyres loose, and he's made another mistake too, just getting it wide again.
He's really struggling with the rear end of the car there.
So perhaps a bit more testing and work done for the Holden boys. Great job by Foggy though, because he's had nothing but bad luck. Brand new car, blew the motor in testing. They've got the Tier 2 motor, and look at this. He's right up towards the front of the field after starting back in 11th. This is the view from Foggy as he takes out the tyre as Manuel goes wide.
This just goes to show how well Foggy's driving too. When you're down on power, it's never easy around a circuit like this.
On board the truck driver, Andrew Porter in the Hyundai Hydrolink car, and that's the look of that new corner. And they're really tightening it for the V8s. A lot of the drivers like Kane Scott and the guys don't like it as they get too
big
wide.
Sideways.
Big slide.
All those years of truck drifting have helped him there.
Yes. Keeps it together. Yeah, Scotty's not that keen on the tweaking of the corner. May work for the A1 GP cars, but it's sort of slowed down the V8 freight train.
Well, there's a lot of weight to pull up there, Clint. 90-degree corner now instead of what it used to be.
Oh, there's the replay of the twin spin by the Waikato boys, Hardy and Ross. There's the showdown between Wallace and Porter.
See, a great slide on there. He's used Wallace to straighten himself up.
Plenty of action in the New Zealand V8s. Race 1, the 14-lapper. Motorsport. Blassad, check this. Oh, he's gone wide, Boothie. He's locked it up. Kane Scott's got through. So is the Rat. Fog and he's dropped back 3 places.
See, after all this time, he's really struggling now, and it is. You can certainly see that they're struggling a lot with the rear of these cars.
So that's disappointing for Andy Booth of the Tasman Motorsport Commodore, qualified on pole, and here he is back in 5th place, looking back from the GT Radial Falcon. Dean Perkins.
Great shot there, look at
Breaks
that.
the fly on fire. Clark Proctor all over his rear as they come through that very tight chicane.
Very ambitious move from Clark there, he almost made it stick.
Big battle for 9 and 10. Take a look at the replay again of Andy Booth just overcooking the brakes entrance into the sweeper, which is absolutely critical to get that inside line coming down the end of the long straight to set up any passing manoeuvres. As you can see there from Mark Pedersen.
Certainly was a big lunge from Proctor there, and he's trying to get the run on Perkins onto the straight now. Oh no! David Bernard.
Last lap, drama for David Bernard. He was right up to 11th. And we're just hearing from the team that it could be fuel problems.
That's really disappointing. You know, they're having a really good run from the back of the field, like I said earlier in the race. New engine, so really disappointing for them.
And they would have needed those fast laps to get qualifying up towards the front of the grid for race number 2. Hardy, oh, the wheel's gone. Replay of an incident there for Cam Hardy, and it's been more drama for Nick Ross as well. So the Waikato boys, that looks like a blind motor. But nothing blind for this boy except for the checkered flag waiting in the breeze. Motorsport bliss for McIntyre. Race 1, New Zealand V8s in the VNC Cocktails 200. He got the passing move and he gets the win.
That's a great drive from Johnny. He's done exactly what he needed to do out there. See, the team are ecstatic. He just bided his time and made the move when it counted, and he's come away with the win.
And that will certainly extend his lead too in the championship in the BP Ultimate Ford Falcon. Johnny McIntyre. All that pre-Christmas testing paid off.
And this is heartbreaking for SCG. Home event for them. David Bernard, look, he's just crawling to the line.
The fans trying to cheer him across the line. How would you feel running out of fuel? And that's where you finish. But no problems out in front for Johnny McIntyre. Gets the win. Ford, Scott, Radisich and Fogg. Booth the first of the Holdens, followed by Pedersen. What a great drive. Back into the race championship for the first time this season. Then Perkins and Proctor round out the top 10. McLean the first of the Aussies. And sadly, David Bernard, the other Aussie, failed to finish. Didn't quite get across the line.